Altheris, we've talked about consciousness and freedom and happiness, and the fact that this is the way forward for us to understand more fully our true self, our true nature. But I wonder if you could maybe explain in a bit more detail what our true self actually is.
Your true self is that which is emptiness, it is that which is nothingness, but it is that which creates the potential for absolutely anything. So you are, in terms of the true self, consciousness in its entirety. But coming to an understanding of that from an individual human perspective is perhaps quite a journey in terms of how or what experiences you perhaps have or undertake in order to come to a position where that becomes revealed to you as the truth of what you are or what the true self is. So what we say in terms of that is that through conscious awareness, and whether that is through the way that you design or create or choose to live your life, then there must be some consciousness as to what is occurring at that moment in time. And we always draw people's attention to the present moment. What is occurring in the present moment? Because in the present moment, the truth of yourself, the true self, only exists. Again, we have said, the true self does not exist in the past. The true self does not exist in the future. It is in this present moment. And it is the activities and the experiences that you are creating from a conscious perspective, not an unconscious perspective, because if it is unconscious, then you are not really truly understanding the nature of what the experience is telling you. But it is from a conscious perspective that you can look at the experience and see how it reflects the truth of you or the true self back to you, because you are the universe, because you are experiencing something and reflecting the output of that experience back to yourself as the universe. You come to understand that. And the vast array of experiences that you can have within the vibrational frequency range of humanity is unlimited. It is the point of crisis that many people find themselves coming to question what it is that they have created in their life as their way of being. And then that in itself acts as the catalyst for reflection to come to, and what we would say is a realization of what they are, because what is occurring there is that the universe is realizing that it is the universe, or consciousness is realizing that it is consciousness, but through the filters of the human story that you have created. And in terms of the experiences that you can have, we would not say do not experience something, because each experience itself has a different dynamic, has a different frequency, has a different, we would say, lesson that you can use to reflect back to yourself as the universe, the truth of yourself. So we would not say do not take drugs. That is a choice that you wish to take, whether or not you are subject to society's view of drugs or whether it is your view of drugs. Feel freedom, because it is through consciousness and it is through freedom that the true self reveals itself. And it is, for instance, the path of drugs that you can, at some level, come into crisis or come into some understanding of the nature of what is truth. Of course, you need to understand the downside from a human perspective of what drugs do, that the physical body becomes addicted to chemical substances. And of course, from that addiction, damage can occur within the physical body, which can create difficulties in the experiences that you have in later life, or indeed, depending on how addicted you become to them, can end your life experience as a human being in that present moment. But again, there are other experiences that you can have, whether it is, for instance, parachuting from 20,000 feet, or whether it is jumping off a cliff, or whether it is having the most amazing relationship with somebody. They are all energetic experiences which point you towards coming to an understanding of the truth of self, that you are consciousness, that you are the universe, that you are reflecting the output of that experience back to yourself. So you can say, this is what I am. and I am what I am through realizing who I am. So it is important to have experiences. It's important for human beings to consider themselves perhaps mirrors of consciousness or mirrors of the universe, reflecting back to itself what they truly are.
So what would you say are some of the experiences that we have the ability to be conscious through, maybe, that can quite quickly help us to awaken to an even greater understanding of who we truly are?
Well, you need to look at that which you are doing each and every day, because that is what you are in as the experience. Whether it occurs, of course, in relationship, or whether you are considering or feeling that you are not in relationship, you are always in relationship, and it is being in relationship with other people, it is being in relationship with material objects, it is being in relationship with animals or nature or sea life, whatever it is, you are in relationship with, and that is first and foremost what is being reflected back to you. The environment in which you exist is your creation. It is you in relationship. It is you drawing into you from a magnetic or polarity perspective that which is the same vibrational frequency or similar vibrational frequency that you are, that you come into relationship with. And each of those objects, whether it is a human being, whether it is a dog, whether it is a boat or a house or a mountain or a cloud or the sun, is reflecting back to you an aspect of yourself that you are able to experience. So if it is the sun, then there is a warmth, there is a love that you associate with the sun, then that is the warmth and love that you have with yourself being reflected back to you. Of course, when you are in relationship and perhaps you are very much in love with the person that you are in, and again you have that warmth and vibrational attachment to them from a feeling perspective, then that is what you are reflecting or receiving within yourself, that you are giving yourself. The opposite is true from a negative perspective, that if you are in an argument or if you are in a heated conversation that is unpleasant, what is happening is that the environment that you have drawn into your life is reflecting the aspect of you that is angry or that is, for instance, not happy with the way that you have created your life, simply reflecting back to you that aspect of you. And that is important for individuals to understand and take responsibility for themselves and the experiences that they draw to them. And it is through consciousness, it is through freedom, and it is through happiness that these are created.
We often talk about humanity awakening or individuals awakening from this lack of consciousness. It seems that some people awaken from a crisis, from a deep depression, and suddenly they wake up different.
Well, they have a different perspective on life, because what has occurred is that the veil of the truth of what they are has been lifted and was revealed to them that they are oneness, that there is no separation between them and the next person, that everything that has occurred within their life is simply the mirroring of that which is themselves, or their selves is consciousness, and that everyone is consciousness. So what occurs is that they then move out of that position to teach and to give advice and wisdom and whatever it is that someone else is seeking, when in fact what they should be saying is stop seeking, see yourself in everything that you have experienced or drawn into your life, because that is what you truly are. It is difficult for some human beings to say we are not separate from the car. It is difficult for some human beings to say we are not separate from a dog. But at a vibrational, energetic perspective, then that is the truth, because it is all consciousness. It is the ego or the identity and the personality that creates that separation, which says, I'm not the dog, I am not the car, I am the story or the name and everything that is the experience underneath that name. That is what you say you are, but that is not the truth.
It's sort of perspective, isn't it? When you go out into outer space and you look down on the planet, you can see it's one. It's one planet and we're all on it, but it just looks like one entity. But as you come down to the micro level, we appear to be individuals.
Of course, and when you take that as an example, and it is the cosmos, the totality of consciousness, looking at planet Earth, and when you understand the nature of the dynamic of the size of the Earth to that which is the size of consciousness or the cosmos, for instance, then you begin to understand your part in it, the infinite smallness of what you are. And yet here on planet Earth, when you look at yourself in the mirror, then you see yourself as a giant. You see yourself as what you believe is being reflected back to you. And of course, that is just an image. But when you want to and desire to understand the truth of yourself, the self-truth, then you look at everything that is within the nature of that which is your life, because that is what you are, that is what you have created, that is what you have chosen or drawn to you.
I feel at this time it is quite useful for some of the people who have had awakenings to teach. For example, there are people who have had out-of-body experiences or near-death experiences and who have a much greater understanding of the true self. For example, there's Dr. Eben Alexander, who's just recently written The Proof of Heaven. And I presume that's another way of awakening that has a great value to start a process of awakening amongst more people on Earth.
Well, if you take any example of a teacher that has perhaps become more awake or conscious as a result of any crisis they have been through, or as a result of any experience that has occurred, because it may not necessarily be a crisis, but what it is doing is not just reflecting back to them the nature of the truth of themselves, it is also reflecting back to humanity the nature and the truth of humanity within the range or vibrational frequency range of humanity. So if, for instance, Eben Alexander puts out a book which talks about the nature of that which is the experience, it is simply a reflection of humanity, and humanity is calling for that book to be put out there and become part of the energetic field and be available for humanity, for those that resonate at that particular frequency, to have the experience of enlightenment, if that is a word you choose to use.
Are there other methods that people could use to help with this process, like, for example, certain types of yoga, Kundalini yoga, or tantric breathing, or are there things that you think
well,
are
any
useful?
method that we would say focuses to the exclusion of that which is in the environment. So what we would suggest is, because the ego itself utilizes the senses in order to stimulate the physical body, it is important that whatever you do is to shut down those senses, to close your eyes, so you stop the visual sensitivity that is occurring within the physical body, to, if you like, close down that which is your hearing, because you then stop that sensitivity. And what reveals is, when you shut down your senses, is the emptiness, is the stillness from which everything emerges from. And it is only when you realize that stillness or that emptiness where everything emerges from, the world of possibilities, is that is where you come from. The nature or the creation of consciousness comes from that emptiness, comes from that silence, is that emptiness, is that silence. So any activity that you participate in can free you. If it frees you from that which is the physical body, frees you from the nature of being ego, moves you back into that which is silence and emptiness, that is where you come to that realization of the truth of what you are.
So adopting a practice of meditation sounds like a very useful tool at this point.
And yoga, of course, is that which connects to energy and the flow of energy. And of course, it's important to have a clean flow of energy in order to move into that space, because it is the, we would say, restricted flow of energy that prevents you from moving into that space and staying there to gain that which is the realization of your true self, that you are consciousness. So working on techniques that free the flow of your energy, that bring up blocked energy for realization, or we would say disbursement back into the universe, can only be a good thing, because it reveals layer upon layer backwards into that which is the truth of you.
Fantastic. Thank you for these very valuable insights, Altheris. We certainly have a lot to consider and get excited about. And as we all raise our vibrational frequency and we all continue on the path of enlightenment, I think we can do it from a much happier place when we adopt the teachings that you've been sharing on these recordings.
We know that you can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.